All right. Well, if you want to just send it, send it.
Just
Okay. So what were we talking about before? We were talking
creating
plot.
movies. The same thing we talk about all the time, making movies.
Making movies. Yeah. No, I think it's really important to go over this script like 400,000 times because as I'm reading it more and more and more, there's just tiny things. Like even if it's a word spelled incorrectly, you start seeing, it's interesting when I'm reading the script again and again and again, I'm finding out that there's parts of it I really don't like at all. And obviously I'm not even the one, I didn't even write the script, right? But being part of the creative team, you have to make suggestions, even if it might hurt the writer's feelings.
Sometimes, yeah.
It kind of sucks. But if it's all for to make the film better, then it normally ends up really well.
Yeah. And I think it helps a lot when like writer production team are on like the same page. Like I've had situations where like I've been with a production team where they've given me notes on a script and I've been like, yeah, great, absolutely, so in, let's do this. And then there's been times that I've gotten notes on something and been like, did you read the same script that I wrote? Because that doesn't make any sense.
Something's not adding up.
Something's not working here.
Yeah. Going back to what you were saying, Ramsey, about like the spelling being corrected.
Oh, yeah.
Like, being correct, it makes a huge difference because how you read the script just with your eyes and your brain will like affect how you understand it and like how you understand the scenes, how these lines are said. And yeah, sometimes you go through a scene and you're like, how do we get this to sound
right
natural when we're shooting it, you know?
Yeah, big time. And it's so hard. See, this is something that I learned after shooting Fire Island. It is really hard to compare what you see in your head when you're reading the script before you start shooting, because you're filling in the holes subconsciously. When there's a plot hole, you're not thinking about it when you're just reading the script. It might read really well on paper, but when you actually get there and start filming, like I said earlier, you're like, oh shit, wait a minute, wait. How did we go from here to here? Why is it day to night and then back to day? How did this get by me when I'm reading it? And I didn't see it. The whole team didn't see it, you don't put it on yourself, but everybody, we had 4, 5, 6, 7 people reading it, and nobody picks up on something that is glaringly obvious when you start filming.
Yeah.
It's craziness.
Yeah. I stuff like that is always insane to me. It's just that like when you've put like 7 drafts together and it's just been like a little too long since you like sat down and did what you said, like just read through the full thing and not just like, oh, let me make sure that the scene I put in fits with the scene before and the scene after, but like, let me make sure this whole through line like actually works. And then I'm not just like, yep, it works. Yep, it works. Yep, it works.
Yep.
There have been times there have been times I've done that and gotten like halfway through a script and been like, oh shit, like I have 20 changes that I have to make because change A affected like 7 other things that I didn't realize it actually clicked into. So now I've got to fix the track.
Yeah, and with us sending to right now, we're still auditioning for this next film I'm doing, and we're sending out the script to a lot of these agents because they want the full script. They want to, they don't want to have any surprises in there that they don't know about. They're signing their people up for something they don't want to do, right. And we're sending out the script to these people, and then I'll read the script that we're sending out and be like, guys, there's a typo here. There's a typo here. It makes you look a little unprofessional. It's like, obviously, stuff slips through the cracks. You're not going to be able to catch everything all the time, but it's definitely, I don't want to say embarrassing, but when you're like sending them to people like Jonathan Bennett, you're like, come on, guys, how did we spell apples wrong? Like, what are we doing?
I've had those situations. It used to be back in college, I would send Jacob a script and I'd just get like 3 pages of notes back about grammar. And I'd be like, yeah, I'll get to it. I'll fix the spelling at some point. But then we started working like post-grad, and like I got to the point where I would show it to Jacob as my like, hey, can you fix this for grammar before I show it to anybody else because my eye is going to miss it.
Right, yeah.
But I started getting scripts from people that I would read and be like, I like this, but there's so many typos in it that like I no longer trust you as a filmmaker.
Right.
Because I think
polishing is so important to the actual. It takes you out of it. When you're reading that script and apples are spelled incorrectly, you're like, well, why?
You're going, well, they must not have gone through the script enough if they missed this.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's reading a script and just being like, why is a word on the first page misspelled? It puts you on your back foot. And you're just like,
It's the small things. One of the mistakes that we made that I recognized is we've had this script for years, for like 3-4 years. And at the very end, there's a small page that has contact information, because we've been sending the script out. And the date on the script was from 2019. And I was like, guys, we sent this out like 4 weeks ago. I was like, guys, why does it say 2019? Like, it looks like we're not updating, we're not working on it regularly when we are, but that's why we have 3-4 different people go through the script. Every script that we have 3-4 people run through it, because everybody's eyes are different. You're going to see things that somebody else is not going to see at all.
It's something we were talking about before the podcast started, but I wanted to mention it again. Just like sitting down with like friends and just being like, hey, I got a bunch of actor friends. Let's just read through this so that those moments of like, how did we miss that scene A does not fit with scene C just gets thinned out in readings, because you're going, wait, something just didn't work because I'm confused and I've read this script 30 times and I don't know how we got here.
Yeah, big time. No, it's really important. And that's actually one of the processes that I use as well, as we send out. Even if it's not the whole thing, we'll send out parts of our script to people to read. If we're stuck on something, and usually it's not a script we're working on or about to film.
Right.
Usually it's one that we're really interested in. For example, this would be this next film that we really want to do, a Western film. We might send that script out to a bunch of people now and start getting feedback on it now, so that we're not doing it last minute while we're trying to cast or something like that,
Right.
Because like I said, we made that mistake already. We are casting a role and change the character because some of the scenes we wanted to change and give the character more depth. And now the auditions are like, well, her mannerisms have to change, her tone and everything about
different character now. Yeah.
Switched a little bit,
gosh,
right? So
yeah.
Then you go into the auditions and you're like, well, this person was fantastic, but it's not the same character anymore.
Oh my gosh, we did that with the web series that we're doing right now. We sent out auditions and the character description was like, she's soft-spoken. She's quiet and soft-spoken. And then we got all these auditions back and I sent them to our creator, and our creator was like, she's not fiery enough. She's not like, there's not like a drive to her. She's fighting for a relationship. And I was like, in the script, you wrote that she's soft-spoken, right? And she was like, I did? And like read back through it and was like, oh no, I meant that like she's kind of like ashamed of what happened, not like she's quiet. And I was like,
oh.
We ended up finding somebody that like managed to get the character right. But it was one of those just like, how did we miss this? Just like realizing that a character in our heads was one way and that the way the character had ended up on paper just like didn't fit.
Yep.
Nuts.
So where are you guys shooting? You guys are shooting web series in and around New York City, right?
Yeah. Trying to do it here, a little bit upstate. Just trying to get locations are a nightmare, honestly.
Locations, I was about to say, because permitting and locations and all the horse shit you have to sift through just to get the right spot is brutal. And that is what I'm really, really nervous about for the scouting trip that I'm going on for the next film. It's like, this is a one shot. We have one shot at getting this right and choosing the location we really want. And I'm very, I'm excited because we have a great locations team there already, but I'm very nervous that we're going to get there and the directors might not like one or two spots, or we might change the script a little bit. And now obviously I think we're at the point now where everything kind of has to get locked in here. We have about 2 months out, but I'm nervous, man. Locations always scare me because you can get one location wrong and it'll change your whole script. Might even change the story if you can't fit it in right.
I feel like you guys got super lucky for Fire Island.
We got very lucky, very lucky. I will always love true location shoots because they just feel so authentic. after we did our first one in Miami in a green screen studio, that was really fun, really cool. But after we went to Fire Island and started shooting on these cool locations, it's got to be that from now on for me.
Yeah.
Like, I love that so much. But yeah, we did get super, super lucky. Every location that we had just worked out really well. Yeah, I think the one thing that we struggled with was filling out the club. But with COVID, it's really hard to get a ton of people in a small space like that.
Of course, yeah.
Because we're testing all these background actors and all the whole crew is in there, and the club was actually still kind of open. Like, people were still kind of meandering in. And I feel like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, yeah. So it's interesting. But locations are definitely very, in terms of pre-production, there might be the most important thing to me, at least, because you can write the greatest script on the planet, but if you're filming inside an abandoned plane, I don't know what to tell you. Like, good luck finding a location with that. You're gonna have to build that out, or you know what I mean. Like, there's certain things that you're just not going to be able to do if you can't have access to them or find something that might work. So locations is massively important.
Yeah, I mean, originally, when we first started making films together, me and Jacob, I would write for what locations we had. It would be like, okay, I know I have 2 college apartments. I know I have my apartment in the city. I know I have Jacob's apartment, and I know we have like an upstate house. So like, what can we film that uses those locations and nothing else? Because I am not paying somebody to like rent a bar.
Yeah. Ramsey, our whole thing is that we've got no budget.
Yeah.
Which is, I respect that a lot, because you guys have to work 4, 5, 6, 7 times as hard, because there's like, you guys have a lot of more work to do, because nobody's saying, you're not going to a bar and being like, hey man, here's $1,000, can we film it here?
Yeah.
It's like,
it's a lot of like, hey, we need a living room. Can like we borrow your place? Can we like use your bedroom for a day? Like, that's what I'm finding a lot with the web series that we're doing now is like, sure, there's a couple locations that are like $400 a day that we could like throw money down on. That'd be awesome. But if we spend that kind of money on our locations, then our budget is all locations, and then everything else has to be shot for nothing. Yeah. Which is like, well, we also want to get the right equipment so that it actually looks like a good project and not like amateurish. So do we pay location? Do we pay equipment? Do we pay for food? It's so many expenses.
Trying to balance a lot there on I think that's the hardest thing too, is when you do get a little bit of a budget. I think it was really like pulling out hair stressful when you knew the money you allocated for a specific department was not enough. It was like, well, you almost hit a wall, and you're like, well, how can we fix this? Where can we go from here? Because it's not my money. I'm not the one putting it. I'm representing this other dude's money. And, if I'm starting to realize a lot of these executive producers, they have no patience. None. Like, if you are not on your game all the time and very transparent, and like one of the ways on Fire Island, I'll be candid, on Fire Island, we had an initial budget. We went well over, right? Originally, we had it like very small. Like we were like, oh, how can we shoot this for as little as possible, right?
Nothing.
And I don't want to say we went, like hundreds of thousands of dollars over, because that's
right. Were you still micro budget?
We were ultra low.
Okay.
So we're ultra low, and some things you're like, oh wait, this is actually we might need to keep this person for a day longer, or we might need to hire one more guy, and we might need to do this, and it starts adding up quickly, and that's you start sweating. You're like, well, our calculations are putting us a little bit over where we thought we were going to be, and it's like that's like losing sleep levels of stress.
Yeah,
that part of it is not fun, but I understand it. Like it's all part of being a producer of anything is taking on that stress, because nobody else really knows what's going on. All the other guys just expect to get paid at the end of it or every week. Like nobody's really worried about it until the bills come in.
Get their money.
Yeah, a producer once told me that every budget should be the amount that you need to make the movie, and then add 10% for everything that's going to go wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's that 10% is a little. It might be need to be more like 25.
25, 30?
25 to 30, I would say.
Damn.
Let's stick with that. But no, you do what you can, and I think we were blessed with an executive producer that he's just so passionate. Shout out to Steve. He is so passionate, and he understands that we don't want to jump over things we shouldn't do. We don't want to skip out on stuff. We don't want to make a cheap product at the end of the day. Like, we've already put so much time and effort into it that he was willing to go the distance with us no matter what. He was like, if we need to shoot another day, we're going to shoot another day, because I'm not going to let us fail. Like, he also put a lot of the burden on himself in terms of, he felt kind of like the grandfather of the project, which he really was. Like, he wanted to take a lot of that responsibility on himself too, which I respect so much, because like an executive producer, yeah, you are the big boss at the end of the day, but you can kind of sit back and do nothing. He was on set every day. He was really invested. I think when it turns into like a passion project, you kind of act a little differently. And for him, it turned into a passion project for sure.
Nice.
And he started getting super, super invested, and it actually made it, in my opinion, much, much better for everybody. And yeah, so it's definitely stressful, because I consider him a friend, like a very close friend of mine now, after dealing, with all the business stuff together and thinking on that side. And it's tough, man. You really don't want to let those people down, because they're putting a lot of responsibility on you, and you can really get in your head about it. I definitely experienced that a lot on Fire Island, where it's like, damn, am I letting Steve down? I don't want to let him down. I don't want to be that guy. So,
no, I don't think you were, though. I think you ran into like unexpected problems that like he was happy to fix, because he saw how hard everyone was working on that set.
And
there was
he had
no
had
doubt
that experience. Yeah, I remember he told us, he had a conversation with us, Jacob, where he was like, I've never had this sort of experience before. I knew how movies were made, but I didn't realize it was like this. And he didn't realize that there were so many moving parts, so many moving pieces, so many players in the game. Like, there's so many things going on, and everybody has to pull their own weight, or you are going to be able to tell something was wrong. And I think he noticed it very quickly, and he jumped on board and got with us, and really stuck in the mud with everybody. And like I said, he was up on those late nights. We had a lot of overnights, and my man was there as much as he could be. So yeah, I think it was a really great experience. But that stress is definitely different. That stress is tough, man.
Having that extra 25 to 30% helps alleviate that stress a little bit.
Big time. Big time. And right, you never know if you're actually going to get it, but
yeah.
Big
And seeing as we are like well over 25 to 30% of the way through the podcast, we should probably like introduce ourselves at some point.
Sure.
So hi, everybody. Thanks for listening to us talk for like 25 minutes about filmmaking. It's kind of a fun time. Welcome to the Black Wolves Packcast. My name is Logan Riley Bruner.
Hey, I'm Jacob Wade.
And I'm Ramsey Heitmann.
Yeah, we're joined this week by special guest Ramsey Heitmann, who we started with 10 minutes of conversation before this podcast started, and then we're like, we should record the rest of this conversation because it's good. But we're thrilled to have you here, Ramsey. We're really excited to get to chat with you for the second half of this podcast now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it goes to show we just love talking about this stuff. I could talk about it for hours.
Oh yeah, dude.
It's our lives.
Talking about making movies is the greatest. I know you've talked about it in your interview before, but I like to do it for the podcast. Do you want to just quickly talk about just like how you know Jacob and me, how you know Black Wolves, like what your connection to us was?
Sure. Yeah. So I graduated Purchase 2019 with you guys. My senior project was working directly with Jacob, Logan, and Jeremy. And we got really close after that. And that's when I got interested in Black Wolves and introduced to Black Wolves. And I've been hovering around. And I haven't been able to work directly with you guys on Black Wolves much. But behind the scene and just talking about projects, I think it's helped both of us. We have a lot that we relate to. So I'm always keeping tabs on everything that's going on. I'm on all the social medias, so I'm invested in the gang. So
I'm glad. I mean, yeah, I think my biggest thing with us collaborating has just been like, it's really nice to have people coming out of college that are like doing it, like just in the grad. Like there were a lot of people that graduated that I hoped would do it, but to watch you, like Ramsey is one of those people that like puts his money where his mouth is, and so like when he said like I'm gonna produce features, that's what he did. He went out into the world and started producing features. And so like to have someone that actually like went and did it is awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, going off of that project in Miami, first of all, how is it looking? Because green screen is like, for a first project to work on, I feel like that's like an intimidating feat to accomplish.
It looks good, in my opinion. I like it a lot. It actually was just accepted into the Prague International Film Festival as of yesterday. So I'm very excited in the short film category. It ended up being like 15 minutes long, which is great. That's all we need. Please, no longer too much green screen. But yeah, that was very intimidating. I mean, we walked into that knowing that it was going to be fully green screen and knowing that it was fully dependent on post-production, really. Because we knew we could get it done during the shooting. We had all the costumes, we had everything, we had the set, everything looked great, but it was all down to post-production. And if that, we had one guy do the green screen, do all that stuff. We had one guy, and it was this French man, and he was like, I can do it. And, you know, he talked about putting his money where his mouth is. We were like, dude, if you say you can do this, we're going to put our faith in you, you know, which I don't suggest doing often. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't ever do that. But we did that, and I'm happy with how it turned out. Is
he the editor too, or just like the keyer?
Yeah, so we have a sound guy that did a lot of the sound mixing. He edited everything together, and we have a colorist just completing some final things now. But he worked months and months and months on it. And there are still parts that I see that, you know, it's tough because you have this budget. You know, we had it was ultra low budget, which was nice, but we had a certain amount of money. We knew that we couldn't get Avatar. You know, we're not going to get this team of, you know, editors and green screen people. We're not going to get all that CGI work done. So for what we paid, I'm very happy. I think the story as a short film works really well. I think the fight scenes are cool. The costumes are gorgeous. I think it really works well as a great pitch to, hey, this is what we had and this is what we made. Give us a little bit more and we will turn this into whatever you want, really.
Right.
And I mentioned our executive producer. This was his kind of child. You know, this was his original creation. And this is actually how we met him, was this film. He brought it to us and it was, you know, went from there. So we're still trying to apply to a bunch of other festivals. But in terms of intimidating, yeah, we just walked into a green box and we're like, all right, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
So I'm excited. It's definitely going to be out really soon. I'm really excited. We're going to have a premiere, I think, in New York City, a little small, short one that hopefully we'll get the Black Wolves involved in. So cool. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Definitely intimidating and definitely very scary.
Yeah, it's nice to see everything pay off, though. You know.
Yeah,
that's awesome. What's something that you learned coming out of Fire Islands, going into your next project? What's the biggest takeaway for you?
I think the biggest takeaway is make sure, well, two things. I think continuity is far more important and far more prevalent than people think. Having a script supervisor is very, very important. Mm-hmm. Having a department that runs with continuity is very, very important. Because we had a lot of times where a bag was missing. And we're like, well, or earrings are not where they should be in the makeup room or the wardrobe room. There's just small things that you should not be stressing over. There's so much going on and you know, 100 people running 100 different directions, and you're telling me the earrings are not placed where they should have been. And now we're all scrambling. You know, Jacob, Jeremy, and I are sprinting around trying to find earrings. You know, it's like that's definitely a big one. And I think the other one is what we were speaking about a little earlier with reading the script over and over and over again. Like I said, it is very easy for you to imagine exactly how that script is going to go when you're reading it. Like you can picture everything and your brain automatically will fill in the holes. That's the big thing is when you're reading it, it looks good. It sounds good. You're like, wow, I can see this on camera. I can see this on the film, you know, on the screen, and I know it's going to be great. That's not true. That is not true. Do not fall into that trap. We fell into that trap. We fixed a lot of it, which is great. But there are definitely still parts where I think we could have done much better in terms of the plot, like in terms of filling in holes that maybe should have been filled. And that's not to say the film is bad. I think it's really entertaining. I really enjoy it. And I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy it. But it doesn't take itself too seriously at the end of the day, which is great. But there's still parts that we could have done way better if maybe we had realized, if we read this 4, 5, 6 more times, we might catch this and be like, well, actually, maybe we add a scene here. Maybe this character needs a little more depth here, and here, and that is definitely something that I'm bringing into the next one, because when you have a little bit of money flying around, I mean, time, it's constantly ticking. That money is constantly burning, constantly. Yeah. And you can't just, let me add this. It all has to be done well in advance, has to be budgeted, scheduled for. And guerrilla filmmaking is great. You can do it on the fly. We're going to have to do that anyway. I think everybody ends up having to do that. But just being really, really organized and really specific and making sure the plot is complete in every way. No, nothing just happens in the film just to happen. Everything has a reason. Everything needs to have a purpose to drive the plot. I think a lot of storytellers and a lot of filmmakers read their scripts and immediately are like, yeah, this makes sense in my head. This makes sense in my head. But Logan, like we were talking about, you send it out to a couple other people. They're like, hey, well, why did this go from day to night to day and nothing happened? Time is flying by too fast. So this character is just kind of existing and not doing anything. It doesn't push anybody forward. That's the big thing. Those are the two big takeaways: continuity and really being decisive and really pushing the plot and making sure there are no holes anywhere. Because you're going to see them. You're going to see them.
I think you're, at least taking from what you're saying, you're kind of talking about having two different people whose job is essentially the same thing. Is having two people who are both dedicated to making sure the continuity, the continuation of the movie makes sense, whether that's from the script perspective of a writer or the filmmaking perspective of a script supervisor, is just making sure that the movie feels like one movie. I've definitely noticed, as I've worked on other projects and just our own stuff, the Frankenstein's monstering that happens with scripts, the idea of we're going to get to set and day 1, we're going to shoot scene 15. But the director doesn't really like this one line in scene 15, so we'll change it. It's whatever, we don't care. Oh shit, now it's day 12, and that one line that we didn't record in scene 15 actually comes back in this scene, and we didn't shoot it, so we can't reference it. So we have to change this, and oh no, that's going to change scene 94, because in scene 94, I make a reference to the line in scene 26 that's also in scene 50. It's just
dominoes.
And having one person who can just look back through the script and be like, okay, I get why you want to change this line, but this line pops up 7 other places, so we need to either not change it here or figure out how to change it everywhere.
Right. No, it really is, because you change one thing and the next thing you know is everything else starts falling. Something just doesn't make sense when you watch it again. You're like, well, what? He shouldn't have done that now because he didn't do it over here.
Right.
But definitely. No, I think that's extremely important. And honestly, we have right now, we have a great, in my opinion, great script supervisor. It was the first thing that we did. We're getting that lockdown, finding somebody in Ireland. You're hired.
Yeah.
Get stuck in with us in pre-production. You are getting stuck in with us, and we are going to go through the whole thing. You're going to know this, and that's, you're talking to the locations department. You're filling them in on everything, because we literally cannot afford to make that mistake again.
The amount of margin of error when it comes to making a film is huge, because it can come from any department at any time. Everyone's got to be on their game. And I feel like you got to have a backup for your main guy always in whatever department. I'm not talking about actors. You got to have
Jacob and I experienced that firsthand on Fire Island. We had just to go into a quick story about it, if you don't mind. We had I'm not going to name names, but we had a member, a head of a department, who we had trusted, and put it, like I said, eggs in one basket. Don't do it. But again, eggs in one basket for us. And he ended up, I'm not going to get into specifics, but he ended up leaving the team shortly after he got there and kind of left a lot of people scrambling. And it was a pivotal role in the film. He wasn't an actor, but he was a pivotal part of the crew. And we were like, oh man, calling people the day of. And again, this is during COVID. That person has to get tested. They can't come in right away.
Yep.
You know, you have to interview them and then get them tested. And sometimes you're just like, let me rush somebody in, because we're kind of scrambling now, because if one person goes, somebody else has to pick up all the weight that they left.
Yeah.
And the department that this person left was huge. So we had 4 or 5 different people say, you know what, I'll pick up the slack. Jacob, Jeremy, and I all went out of our way and be like, you know what, we'll take a little bit of the weight. We'll take a little bit, not all of it because it's too much, but we'll take a little bit. And we're just, you know, all the PAs and everybody was scrambling. But that's what happens too when you're making a movie and you have a sort of skeleton crew, because we really did. I mean, I don't know how many people do we have, Jacob? Ended up 25. Right?
I think, yeah, I was going to say 15 to 25 period.
Max.
Yeah.
So when you have that small of a crew, everybody's the head of their own department. And if one person goes, you don't really have a backup.
Yeah, and I want to point out, because both of you being like 25 people skeleton crew, like I know there's already somebody watching it being like, you had 25 people, how is that a skeleton crew? Because that's a skeleton crew.
That is like nobody.
That's nothing. Like major productions, and I don't think people realize this, have like 200, 300 people. Yeah. Like just half of them don't even show up on set. Half of them are like the accountant that's back at the office, like running numbers to make sure that our lunch total is not going to go over.
Right.
Like,
oh, it's absurd. Well, look, I was working on a film now in the health and safety department. Actually, Jacob, under our boy Harry. I was working with him, which is great. Shout out to Harry. And had a great time doing it. But you know, we're testing everybody 3 times a week.
3 times a week.
3 times, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're testing everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean the 100 people that we're testing. And I'm like, we go from Fire Island to this, and this is a big budget. This was a big budget film. It was an indie film, but it was big budget. Yeah. And you could tell it's big budget because you have 100 people just running around, and half the time you're like, who are you? I don't even know who this is. Yeah. And I have to say hi to everybody every day in the morning, right? So I'm the one being like, hey, good morning. Did you get tested today? Can I do this? Can I help you with this? And every day I'm like, there's 20 more people that show up, and I'm like, who are you? How are you? Like, what's going on? So yeah, it is, 25 is wildly small. We were on an island that was not easy to get to. We did not have any replacements on the island. We had to test in advance. You know, we had to then house new people coming in. It was a lot. But I will say, I enjoy that small crew a little bit more than I think being a part of a massive one, just because it is it's more intimate. I mean, it's like that's your family for the next 3-4 weeks. And like I said, I think it was emphasized a little bit because we were on an island, and we were like, you can't just go, you know, like you can't just, like, what are you going to do? You know, everybody was really stuck in, had to be fully there all the time. And staying in the same hotel and staying in the same place also helped a lot, because everybody was with each other all the time. And yeah, that causes a little bickering here, and everybody gets tired, and you know, I don't want to see this person today, I don't like this person today, whatever. But at the end of the day, you're like, dude, we're making a movie, everybody has to be on it. You know, there's a lot of camaraderie and brotherhood that was built in those couple weeks that we were filming. But I actually like that. I think I like that more. And that's what we're going to have in Ireland again. We'll probably have a little bit more people over there, but I still think it's going to be a pretty tight-knit group, 30 people, maybe max.
Amazing.
So
I was just thinking that while I was on Fire Island, for the time that I was there, it felt like a big family, you know, like you got to know extended family. And like, I feel like we were all like really close just in that like 10 days that I was there. And like, I feel like I wish almost that we had more production meetings throughout the production.
Yeah. Like
there were more chances for everyone to come together and talk about like game plan for the day. Just like at the beginning, who needs what from who, because it changes from day to day.
Oh yeah.
Jacob, that's a great point. And that's another thing, another big takeaway is in Ireland, I spoke to Anthony and Miles, you know, we had this conversation. We want to have those every day. There's no reason why we don't wake up in the morning, all meet, have a safety meeting, and have a quick production meeting. This is our plan for the day. This is how we're going to knock it down, and this is what we're going to do. It's going to create, you know, you're going to have a workflow for the day. Everybody's going to know exactly what's going on. There's not going to be any confusion. Nobody's going to lug their cart to the wrong location, which,
Right.
by the way, we can't do on this project because the locations are not anywhere near each other.
Oh, wow.
Like a lot of them are outside. Then you have,
You have to figure out transportation too.
So that's another part of this that we are excited about, but is definitely stressful, is RVs and transportation. We have a couple big actors working on this project. Janelle Parrish and Jonathan Bennett were announced. We're not going to have them just sitting outside. Like that's not how that works. Yeah. So RVs and transportation, all that stuff is really exciting because it's another step. It's another step where now we have experience working with this level of talent that will let us have, we need an RV now. We need a honeycomb. We need one of those things where everybody feels safe. And if we're shooting out in the middle of a bog in Ireland, we're going to need, everybody's going to need to have space where they feel comfortable and relaxed. It just adds another layer, another aspect to it.
Yeah, like having a comfort team.
Yeah.
Comfort team. Yeah. Hospitality.
Yeah. That's also like so necessary.
Big time.
Yeah. I think it's super cool for me to like be able to have you come on the podcast and just like in general to like be circling around each other. Like besides the fact that we're friends, I mean, just like to be able to show people kind of the like two layers of like what is happening in the filmmaking world right now is like, you've got us who are kind of doing this like smaller scale, like we're shooting web series, no budget, like our thing.
The YouTube scale.
Like COVID compliance and all of that when you have no budget. And then to also talk to you who's like on this end making like big features is really cool. Cause like we get to be like, well, our experience is like guerrilla on the ground, like running through everything. And to hear you be like, I mean, we're doing the exact same thing, but with more money and like a bigger scale is really cool to be able to show those comparisons. I like it.
I think what people don't realize is, especially when you have a team that you've been working with for a while, like we have, like I've known Miles and Anthony for a long time now, and we get each other really well. But that also means on set, and I think Jacob can attest this, on set, we're still like, there's still parts of us where somebody will look over and we're being goofy and stupid. Like it still feels like we are guerrilla.
Working with your friends. Like,
yeah, we're like, it still feels like, oh, this is just like another little project that we're doing. But then, it quickly snaps, you're like, oh, wait a minute. I got Jonathan Bennett sitting on this couch in front of me. I got to relax.
oh shit! That guy across the room from me gave us $100,000 to make this movie.
Right. I need to lock in. But yeah, no, I don't think. I think when you're doing it with the right people, I don't think it changes much. To be honest, I think at least the atmosphere between you shouldn't change much. Besides the fact that hey, we need to be a little more adult. We need to be more professional. We have a lot of other people here that don't feel the same way that we do about this project. They're here to get a check. They're here to do this. I think you realize that pretty quickly. Because I'm for a producer, I would say I'm pretty young to be doing feature films. I think besides Jacob, I think maybe you and I think Susanna, I was the youngest person there. And I think it's funny. I don't know. I don't know when your birthday is, but who cares? We were all really young, we're all in that same age group, and everybody working around us is older and has 20, 30 years. So to put on a face and to put on, not even a face, just to take all the experience that I have and make that professional side of me, it was hard, but I think you snap into it really quickly. I actually think it's super, when you have all that stress and all that, everything going on, I think you just run with it. Like, I don't think it changes much from what you guys are doing now to what I really don't think it changes much at all. No. I think you guys are going to have that opportunity, and you're going to realize very quickly that you're going to cut into that little like jokey, and then you're going to be like, okay, so this is what I have to do. Logan's going to snap into that. Jacob, you're going to,
totally.
I don't think that changes much. I think people will realize that if they ever, which I hope a lot of the Black Belts people get to that spot, which I think they will, because you guys have a lot of great stuff going on. I think it'll be interesting. You guys will have that moment where you're like, damn, this still feels like what it did before, which is why you want to keep doing it, which is why I'm so invested in it,
100%.
Because I've worked on other films. We've all worked on other films, and sometimes like it feels like a drag. I'm not that invested. I'm not, this isn't my project,
You've also shown up to the place where like even the producers are like, we're doing this for the paycheck. Like, we're doing this because we've been working on this show for like 3 seasons, and like it's just a steady paycheck. Let's just run this gig.
Right.
And, like, I don't want to work on, at least for me, like in personal projects, I don't want to work like that. I never want to be in a place where I'm like, oh, we're doing this project and like, it's whatever, I guess. It's like, if I'm ever looking at a project of like, I guess we're doing this, then like there's something's not working.
Right.
And look, everybody needs a paycheck at the end of the day. Everybody needs to get paid. But I agree with you entirely. 100%. Your goal is to have that passion project that you get invested in. And Jacob, I talked to you about this when we were on set a couple times. I said, look, man, you're going to realize very quickly, which I'm sure you already do, most of the people here don't care as much as you at all. Not even close. They are coming here to do their job. They want to do it well. They want to get good references, but they don't give a rat's ass about the story. They don't care. Like, they don't care about the continuity. They don't care about all this other stuff. They really don't. They don't care about everything going on, which they should. You can't blame them for that. Like, I don't blame anybody for that. But at the same time, you take on that weight, and that's what makes it so special for you, is because you have to really realize that, hey, this is everything to me. This is my passion project. You really have to look at everything at once, and I think that gets overwhelming. But yeah, we had a couple of those conversations where I think I got frustrated. I was talking to you about something. I got frustrated. I was like, I don't understand. Like, this is like, it's a big project, all this stuff. Like, why is there some people that are just not nearly invested? People show up like kind of miserable. And we had the conversation. I think we ended up just talking about, some people just, they're not as invested, and that's okay. That's not a problem. Yeah. But, it turns into one of those things where
you're like, why isn't this person doing their job?
Yeah. Well, we had those conversations too. But yeah, that was tough. That's a tough realization to have, is that some people are, that's life though. Some people are just not going to be as invested. I was working on Fire Island months before we started shooting. So
we had our first conversation about it like 6 months before you guys even announced.
Long time ago. Yeah. Long time. So we had that in the back pocket ready to go. And we were working on it for a long time. A lot of pre.
I remember when we did I think we did your interview. I think you said that Jonathan Bennett was coming on to the movie, and then we finished the interview and you were like, so I'm not sure if I was actually allowed to say that.
Yeah, no, I definitely could not.
Let's hold that point. But like, you guys know that now, but we can't say that.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That was funny. Yeah, no, you just get so excited that sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But thank you guys for blowing it out. But now that it's all public, Jonathan Bennett was in it, and he's in our next one.
And he's great.
He's great.
He is great. Ramsey, what percentage would you say are the people who you work with that you like know personally, and that like your coworkers know personally, and what percentage of it is like outreach to like, we need a guy, let's look for a guy?
I would say all the higher up people, producers, AD, everybody that we were working with on Fire Island were connections. Were people that not me personally, but Miles and Anthony had known, and now obviously I'm connected with them, and we still talk all the time. A lot of those people you get to know beforehand, and that's another thing that goes into it that I think a lot of people don't realize is we had conversations with a ton of different people from a ton of different departments months beforehand. This person didn't work out because we had a bunch of conversations with them. They weren't on the same page, or we didn't like their direction. Sorry. It goes a long way, but you end up building a connection with that person. I would say, honestly, only 30 to 40% maybe are people that we had known beforehand, had known previously. Obviously, you guys came from me. Miles and Anthony brought in Ante and Rob Simmons, and they brought in Harry and a lot of their guys, right? Now, we hired a bunch of our team. Kelly, we had known previously. Yeah, I would say, maybe it's actually closer to 50% for that film. It was around 50%, which I like that, because I like knowing what I'm going to get. There's a comfortability, and there's a trust that I can have when I have you and Jeremy and Susanna on set. I know what I'm going to get. Yeah. I know that you guys are going to work hard because we have a mutual respect for each other, and we're going to be able to work well together, really well. And I think obviously that showed. I think the rest of the cast and crew were like, those guys were dope. So I think that works really well, right? And I think when you know people and trust everybody, you build an atmosphere and you build a connection with a lot of people quicker, just because you already have that sense of camaraderie beforehand. Like Ante, for example. Ante is a good example. I didn't know Ante beforehand, but I met him on the scouting trip, and we got to know him more and more and more as it went on. So you build trust with somebody, and the people that I don't know, the people that we had no idea who they were, they're connected in some way. There's 6 degrees of separation. They're connected to Ante, who brought him in on this project 4 years ago and really liked his work. So he was like, hey, I suggest this guy. Most of them were suggestions, and be like, hey, I know this guy. You should bring him on. Our personal team, the people that we brought on, I would say it was around 30 to 50%. And the rest of them were suggestions and through interviews and stuff.
Well, that was great, because I loved the experience of meeting people that you guys trusted, you know?
Yeah.
And like, there's a sense of like having mutuals in that, like, you get to know them and like see why they are trusted and why they are picked. And you're like, I get it. Yeah. And it's great. I had a great time on that set.
There's a other side to that too, where you see why maybe somebody wasn't your first choice, or maybe somebody you didn't bring in, like it wasn't your personal choice.
True that. Yeah, you see someone who you brought in just because you knew a guy and not because.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've had those situations where it's like you bring somebody in and you're like halfway through and you're like, this wasn't okay. Not for the next one. Not for the next one. Got it.
Right. And I think making an impression is so incredibly important, because honestly, if you go by what I just said, suggestions and bringing people in that you already know, and this guy's going to come in because he knows this guy, and you work together on this one, and he's like, hey, that's making a good impression on everybody around you is when you're working on a film, might be the most important thing.
Yeah. I think final question, I think, on this kind of front is like similar to Jacob's question, but slightly different. Was there a single person on this project that didn't have a connection to anyone on the project, was just an entire like outsource hire? Like cast, crew, anybody?
Oh, cast, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
Almost all the cast.
Okay.
I would say, actually, I think the entire cast. We didn't bring anybody on. Actually, we brought one guy on that we knew previously and had worked with previously. But everybody else the cast was completely from a casting director. We used a bunch of different resources.
Great cast, by the way. I loved getting to know them, and
they're really cool. They're great.
It was a great group. Everyone clicked so well.
Yeah, that was very exciting. But I think crew wise, I actually do not know if there was a single person that was hired that hadn't worked with somebody previously already on. I think
I kind of thought you were going to say that, just because like, just based on what you're saying, like everything in this industry is impressions. Everything is like, even if you personally didn't know the people that were coming in, like everyone.
The guy I trust does.
Yeah, you want the guarantee. You want the like, okay, my buddy Todd said that this guy is great, so this guy's going to be great. So we're going to bring him in. And I think that's the other thing in the industry, is that reputation is everything. That like, if your friend Todd says that like Michelle is great and you bring in Michelle and she's terrible, well then that hurts Todd.
Buddy.
Todd,
what are you doing?
Why are you bringing me people that aren't working?
Todd, I don't ever want to see Michelle again.
Yeah.
God.
Never again. Not going to happen.
I love it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's important for people to just be aware of, just as you're going through the business, is like
work on as many projects as you can, and honestly, don't burden people. Don't go out of your way to like act like the guy that everybody knows. Don't be that guy, or don't be that girl, or whatever. Just always be open. If somebody's there, you can have conversations with everybody. Say good morning. It's really easy to say, hey, good morning. Whatever it is, whatever department you're working on. Another thing is, stick to your department.
Yeah.
Don't go around touching everything else. It's not. People actually hate that more than anything. I've noticed is, if you are not in the sound department, don't go anywhere near the sound stuff. I don't care if the boom falls over. Don't touch it. It's not yours to touch.
Right.
You can still be considerate and ask somebody, hey, do you need help with something? I have a moment. Do you need help with anything? I can help you move this.
Yeah.
You always ask permission first. You always say, hey, I'm available for 5 minutes before I'm called. Can I help you with something?
Yeah.
And that goes a long way. And if that's all the conversation you have with the sound department is, that's fine. Yeah. But it might spark you to the point where the sound guy was like, oh yeah, this guy was really nice. Yeah, really cool guy. You know, if somebody asks about you, who knows? I mean, it's all that. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's all that. It's the cardinal rule of theater. It's don't touch another actor's prop. Because like exactly. if you pick up the boom pole in the wrong way, like the boom pole fell over. Okay, great. But if I pick it up the wrong way and I rock the microphone slightly and then it breaks, then there's an issue.
Huge.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Way to go, Todd.
Way to go, Todd. This was just a fucking fantastic conversation about filmmaking. We're what, like 45 minutes, 56 minutes in. Oh my gosh. Okay.
We could probably go for another hour if we wanted.
Oh, easily. So I'm gonna just quickly take us through some of the movies that are coming out this week, and then we can share some of the stuff that we've been like watching and consuming, and then we'll wrap this little baby up.
All right.
So actually a lot of shit came out this week. I was kind of surprised. There is a documentary for, I'm going to share some of it, not all of it. The rest of it is in the description. There's a documentary by Netflix called Pray Away, which is directed by Christine Stolakis. It's the story about the kind of conversion therapy, Pray the Gay Away movement, and all the people that were like the faces of that are now coming out like 20 years later being like, I was lying. I like was trying to hide who I was. None of it worked. None of it was true. And so like showing the comparison between that and the kind of new movement of rather than pray the gay away, like pray the trans away, and kind of like comparing those two movements as they are. There is Beckett, which is a new John David Washington movie. I know Jeremy is going to want to watch that, so shouting that out for him. The Suicide Squad, which I'm actually really excited for. Yay, superhero movie. Ramsey, I'm seeing your reaction, buddy. I'm sorry. I love James.
The first one was terrible, man. I'm just nervous.
New director. I'm believing. I'm having faith.
I'm nervous, man. I'm nervous.
I get it. We've got a movie called Annette, which is Adam Driver and Marianne Cotillard, which was written by the Spark Brothers. It's a musical, like, dramedy. It looks really cool. I think it looks super interesting.
Adam Driver?
Yeah, Adam Driver.
Nice.
Adam Driver in a musical.
Oh, boy.
We've got Vivo, which I know that Jacob will probably watch, Sony Entertainment's first animated film. Written by Chiara Allegria Hudes. So yay for female writers and female directors. We've got a movie called She-Ball, which is directed by Nick Cannon. So Nick Cannon directing a movie.
This will be a trip.
Yeah, that he co-wrote with Glenda L. Richardson, so Black director and female writer. There's also Infinitium, Subject Unknown, which is written by Tori Butler Hart and directed by her husband, Matthew Butler Hart. I always find couple projects interesting, projects of like a husband and a wife.
Yeah.
The documentaries Val, which is about Val Kilmer, and Ailey, which is about the head of Alvin Ailey, both got like bigger releases. They went from being limited to like being seen by more people.
Great.
The Last Matinee is being directed by Maximiliano Continetti. He is a South American director. John and the Hole, which is starring Michael C. Hall. It's about a little boy who traps his family in a hole. It's like a psychological thriller. Being directed by Pascual Sisto, another Spanish director.
Nice.
The Macaluso sisters is being written and directed by Emma Dante, who co-wrote with Elena Stancanelli and Giorgio Vasta, so women writer, women director. Yay. And then finally, what we left unfinished is 5 feature films from communist era Afghanistan and the people who went to like massive lengths to make them. And that is directed by Miriam Ghani, who is an Afghanistan female director. So a lot of women directors lately, which I'm very excited about. I want to see more of them. But, yeah.
The film I was just working on had a female director as well.
Fuck yeah.
A.V. Rockwell. So I believe it's her first feature. So I'm really excited, and I hope it really goes well for her.
Yeah, and when that comes out, we'll bring you back on to talk about it a little bit. Share your experience about that one.
That'd be great.
Speaking of things that we're doing in the art world, Jacob or Ramsey, whichever one of you wants to start, is there anything you guys are like watching this week that you want to share?
Last night, I actually saw The Devil All the Time.
Ooh.
That I recommend watching it only once. Don't ever watch it again. It is morbid. It is hard to watch. it's a great film with an excellent cast. Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson. It's a very good cast. It's hard to watch. Just in the way that it throughout a lot of movies will bring you up and up and up and up and up. This one just keeps going. Just straight nosedive down, and you're really waiting for that. Oh man, like Pursuit of Happiness, nice. No.
Yeah.
No, there is nothing. No.
The devil all
the time. It does not end. So we watched that last night. I do suggest watching it. I think it's a great take on, like, it's like super culty, but not really. It's super Christian, it's really interesting. Super interesting. That and the other film I watched, I've seen it a couple times, but I watched it again. Bad Times at the El Royale. Great film.
Yes.
Love it.
Star-studded cast, great movie. I don't even know what genre I'd put it. Thriller. It's funny. It's kind of an action movie, but it's a thriller. It's psychological.
Yeah, is that the one with John Hamm? Is John Hamm in that movie?
John Hamm, yeah. John Hamm. I believe Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
We got. I mean, there's a ton of Dakota Johnson. There's a ton of great actors in that.
Yeah.
Nice.
I saw that movie. That was a good one.
Yeah, banger for sure.
Nice. Very nice. I have been watching Formula One racing, motorsports. It's been going crazy.
Esteban!
Other than that, not really. I haven't really been watching TV or movies, really. I've been rewatching like some Marvel movies, but they don't count. So, yeah.
Shout out to the U.S. women's national team on bronze, and shout out to the U.S. men's national team on the Gold Cup W. So big soccer news around the world. Love that for the boys and the girls. Good stuff.
Yeah,
excellent.
Other than that, that's all I've been consuming. Besides work and sleep, that's about it.
Amazing.
Yeah. Logan, what about you? Watching anything cool?
Finished Kevin Can Fuck Himself, which had a very interesting end of the first season. Watching season 2 of Ted Lasso. I found out today that the writers originally intended the first 3 episodes of season 2 to be watched back to back to back instead of being released weekly. So I'm going to try and watch all 3 of those, like, just in continuation, which makes a lot of sense because, like, having watched all 3 episodes separately, I'm now like, this was one arc that, like, should have been just self-contained as those 3 episodes. So I like that a lot. It kind of feels like the first 3 episodes are like the prologue before the season begins. It's like, let's set everything up so that, like, the cool things can come.
You need that transition from season 1 to season 2.
Yes, it's like season 1.5 is those 3 episodes.
Nice.
What else? Formula One Drive to Survive we're still watching through. We're working a lot, so I've been super busy. Honestly, I think that might be it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Haven't really been watching anything else. Been super busy. Trying to get a bunch of stuff done.
It's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah. Work mode.
Mode. Ramsey, thank you so much for joining us for this little, like, hour-long conversation. This is fucking great.
Absolutely, man. Hopefully we can turn the recording off and afterwards we'll get some food or something and continue a little bit more in the conversation. I'll tell you all the stuff I can't announce publicly.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, with that, we're signing off for now. So for all of us at Black Holes, I am Logan Riley Bruner.
I'm Jacob Wade.
And I'm Ramsey Heitmann.
Thank you guys so much, and we will see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.